Hello and welcome. Today I have Rick Tumlinson, the founder of the EarthLight Foundation, with me. We are going to be talking about New Worlds, which is coming up on November 1st and 2nd in Houston, Texas this year. And we're very excited because the event has been growing from the previous years. And we wanted to tell you a little bit about what you can expect at the event. Rick, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more about what is New Worlds?
New Worlds, in a way, is sort of a tribal gathering. It is a conference in a sense that we're getting information. But back a while back, I wanted to sort of create something that, having gone to so many conferences and spoken at so many conferences and been around so many other people, I had some conversations with people about what would you like to see in an event like a conference. And so New Worlds is sort of that. It's big, but it's intimate.
Mm.
It's very visionary, but it's also very ground based. It's just something where people can find each other, which you can't do at some of the mega conferences. You get to hang out, right? And then you get to have a sort of really, I'll go back to that intimate experience. It's a more intimate experience than that, even as we grow it. And we're designing it that way. Plus, it's not just a bunch of people sitting on panels lecturing you. We have poetry, we have music, we have art, we have controversy, and we even challenge our own ideas at New Worlds.
I love that.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. And I remember last year was my first time attending, and I was really delighted to see that intersection of space, science, technology, and the arts. And, the poetry, you yourself, Cyan Proctor, even invited me to recite my poem. And it was really very different from anything else I had ever experienced, both in the space industry and at other conferences. And I saw the level of respect that people had for each other while they challenged each other's ideas. And at the same time, this really beautiful kind of blossoming of new ideas as these intersections took place.
And by the way, your poem was great.
Thank you so much.
the thing here too is we're not, I challenge people a lot on different things. Like, we're not an industry conference, but we have industry. We have sessions that we're rolling out this year for the first year called Enterprise Updates, which are basically, here's what my company is, or here's my project, here's what I'm doing, and here's how you can help me. On the other side, we have Star Talks, which are space, science, technology, art, and research talks, which are absolutely not pitches and promotions. They're about ideas and concepts. So we have that kind of an intersection. We will have the leaders of several of the private space station companies that are going to present, and they're going to get full up pitch time. And then we're all going to get together and have a conversation about the challenges of developing these industries on what I call the orbital street. So it's that kind of a blend. We start at the very beginning. We're going to have the amazing Frank White, who's going to talk about the overview effect with people who've been up there, and kind of get that ethereal, spiritual feeling going. The next morning, we are going to start with an absolute challenge to all of our internal mythology. And we have the lady who co-wrote City on Mars, which has caused a lot of controversy in our field, because her and her writing partner challenged many of our ideas and our core beliefs. But we need to be able to have these conversations. We are, in a sense, an evangelical group, an organization in terms of being evangelical about the future and the possibility that opening the high frontier offers, but we have to have our feet on the ground. So we're kind of, it's that kind of a blend, and I find it's a lot of fun, if I can say so myself.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one thing I distinctly remember is how much laughter and joy there was even in those challenges. And it's not often that you find a group of people, especially in an industry where it's very technical and logical and linear thinking, that can have that type of conversation and interaction without fiercely defending their views and it almost devolving into, I'm right, you're wrong. This was a really beautiful expression of let's consider all of the possibilities and let's discuss, and including the audience, right? Having those conversations about where we can go and what does that mean? What are the pros and the cons? And so that was really distinctly unique. And I heard that from several attendees last year as well.
Yeah, we're going to do even a bit more of that this year, a little bit more of that kind of interaction. I remember a couple of years ago, it was one of the best compliments we've gotten was I think we had a panel going on, or a panel. We don't use the word
You
panel.
used the word.
We have conversations, discussions, and things like that. But we had a discussion going about Space Force on stage. And then we had some people out in the lobby who were working on sort of very metaphysical types of things. And I had somebody come up to me and say, I've never been to an event like this. You've got people who come from a very conservative background on stage, and you've got people burning incense and talking about chakras out here in the lobby. But that's the point, right? The frontier is about all of us, and finding that point of contact and interaction and inspiration that we can all give each other is what New Worlds is all about.
That's wonderful, and I love hearing it in your own words because it is hard to describe, and in trying to not use the traditional words of conference or panel. Language is so important, as you know, and by giving it this new language, it gives a different energy to it, a different flavor. And I think that walking into it, no matter if you're from the more conservative or the more metaphysical background, it allows for this meeting place for us to be able to see each other in different ways. And I think that's why everyone is drawn to it and why we're seeing it grow year after year. And that's the reason why we're also in Houston this year.
It is. We've loved our time in Austin. I live in Austin. I'm hardcore, Austinian or Austinite or whatever you want to call us. And I know you are as well. And we love the city. We made a decision this year to sort of go to the heart of the beast, Houston. Houston, we have a problem, that kind of thing. And the event location is Space Center Houston, literally on the other side of the fence from Johnson Space Center, which is the center of human space flight. And that is on purpose. It is, I think we're basically going to double the size of the event this year, and then hopefully double it again next year, really turn it into a gathering, someday, yes. Our aspiration is for it to become something like the New World's Fair, and speaking of that, we are looking ever more at areas of what you might call New Worlds. So we're going to have a session on a conversation, at least, about New Worlds of AI at this event. And that's kind of a preview of where we might have a larger track next year. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, we want people, if you're a professional in the space field, if you are an entrepreneur, you're going to get something out of this. If you are just what we call space curious,
yes,
you're going to be able to start to dive in. I have a show I call that I do on iRock called The Space Revolution, and at the end of that show, I interview a lot of professionals, entrepreneurs, experts in the field. At the end of the show, I always ask them, what do you recommend to somebody out there who's listening as to how to get engaged in this amazing field? And almost every one of them will say at some point, go to the events, go hang out with the people in an informal setting. It's not like, I constantly get people from the event who will say, you have no idea who I was talking to, or I can't believe I was in the same room as so and so.
Yeah.
And there are events you can go to. There are a lot of great space events out there. We just think that, of course, ours is best. But it's also, again, it's got that flavor. Some of these events are over tracked. Like there's 10 things
Yes.
going on at once, right? Some of them never get into the depths, things you were saying. Some of them are so crowded, so much going on that you're just overload with
Yes,
all the people,
overwhelmed with everything.
overwhelmed. And then there's the corporate events. They're there for a purpose, for the government space program, for the corporate space program. And we, by the way, have some of those same people, but they can, if I say so myself, let their hair down at New Worlds and relax and speak in ways you may not see them speak in other places.
Absolutely. I've definitely experienced that myself, running into some of the same people from New Worlds at different events. And, we all have to make sure that we present in a way that fits the container in which we're in. And New Worlds definitely gives that freedom to be able to blend these different aspects of ourselves. And there's really fascinating topics. I mean, last year we were talking about the space revolution, and even Frank White was up there saying that. We had sex in space. We had a Shark Tank experience. What I'm excited for this year is that we're presenting all of these sessions and conversations in the IMAX Theater at Space Center Houston. So
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to
yeah,
say that we're going to be in the amazing IMAX Theater, which is both daunting and exciting. And
yeah,
we want to keep that intimacy, but we're going to be in this amazing facility at Space Center Houston. And I do have to say this: the people at Space Center Houston have been amazing. They not only charged us less than they might somebody else, they are actually partnering with us so that they're actual participants in supporting this event, and that means a lot to us. And so, yeah, it's a great place to be, and there's all the exhibits.
yeah.
They have the space shuttle, they have the Saturn V, they have the Falcon stages there. They actually have a moon rock there that you can touch a piece of the moon. Think about that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, just a lot of stuff going on outside, because the facility will be operating while we're in there, so you can just go
Right.
out and enjoy yourself. Although we prefer you stay in the room.
And we also have, as you mentioned, we have music and performances and artists, and throughout the entire 2 days of content,
Mm.
you're gonna be able to enjoy that as well. I remember last year that the artist, was painting in the hallway, and he, had the Yoda doing the Star Trek hand, and, just was kind of
Right.
merging these concepts, and it was really special. And we had the fireside chat with Rod Roddenberry, and Erock from Shark Tank. And it's things like that, that intimacy. Yes, there's a couple hundred people there, but you have access to go up and have a conversation. And that's what's really different. I remember last year, some people were, oh my God, there's Cyan Proctor and Frank White. And I was like, yeah, go say hi. You can go talk to them. They're like, really? And, they're so welcoming and so
Mhm.
warm. And it's really special to be in an environment like that and just to see people light up. I know several people actually got inspired to move their businesses into the space industry because they attended New Worlds and saw all the opportunity that there is there.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think the real benefit is. If you're space curious and you just love space, you want to see how you might be able to move your business in or even find a job. You don't have to be an engineer or a fighter
Right.
pilot or, someone in tech. Like there's so many different avenues, and it's really exciting to open up those pathways for people.
Right. And underneath it all, is our philosophy that we have a purpose as humanity. And that's the underlying. I make a joke about how we're going to, Star Trek fans will get this slip chip in your neck. We're going to Borg you a little bit about this great cause that we believe so much in. And that's really the carrier wave that all of this rides on, right? Is
Yes.
that that idea that we're here to go there, and the principles of EarthLight are manifest in what it is we're talking about throughout. So yeah, it's going to be a huge amount of fun. And do you want to talk about the ball at all, or
Yes, I did. So before we jump into the
oh,
ball,
okay,
'cause
sure.
of course, having fun is part of being human in the mission. Can you define the 3 Earthlight principles for those who might be newer
Yeah,
to New Worlds and Earthlight?
yeah. EarthLight is based on 3 principles, and I actually have a book coming out that next spring, which will be lay out the principles. It's called The Purpose of People, um, and that's what we're about. Capital P, purpose. And we believe that the purpose of being a human is to protect and expand the domain of life. In other words, take care of the mother world. But we go the next step. We want to see the seeds of life planted on places that are now dead. Um, Honor and evolve humanity. Again, that's why we have this sort of broad spectrum of people that we're trying to bring in. We honor where you came from, who you are, how have you
Mm,
arrived at this point in time. And then our goal is to evolve who we are as a society, both socially, psychologically, maybe even physically as we go out there. And then
mhm,
the third one, which I call the fun one, is to explore and experience everything in the universe. And the concept of that
yeah,
is that sentient beings like ourselves are the way that the universe is aware of itself. And so
mm,
our job, our literal job description, in our opinion, as Earthlighters, is to go out there. And if we don't, we're not doing our job.
yeah, I love that. And in line with that principle, exploring and experiencing the universe and all it has to offer, that's why we also host and culminate this whole New Worlds experience with the Space Cowboy Ball. And for those of you who are kind of curious about why that name, I'd love to hear from you, Rick, why you came up with it. But I do know that it has been called the Burning Man of the space industry.
It's again, we are a little bit countercultural, and in terms of the field. You'll notice you're saying industry. I keep saying field because I look at it as bigger than industry. I look at the nonprofits, the scientists. They're not industry, but they're just as vital as everything else we're doing. And so what we do at the ball is, I'll just be frank. This is a chance for nerds to be cool. You know, our great friend Loretta Hidalgo has an event at the other end of the year called Yuri's Night,
Mm.
and I think they're like brother and sister events in my sense. And if you've been to a Yuri's Night, then you have a sense of what the ball is like. Except at the ball, what we're doing is we raise funds for what we call Permission to Dream, which is our education activities, um, and and then what we do is we give out some awards. Um, and not too many speeches. We have amazing musical acts, and I talked to a couple of them yesterday. They are going to blow you away. I mean, the musical acts we are going to have are going to be so, I mean, off this planet in a sense, right? I mean, they're going to transport you to other places. And then we give out the awards. Um, I can't tell you what all the awards are. The key award, the number one award, is the Space Cowboy Award. And we've had winners such as Gwen Shotwell, who runs SpaceX, and some guy who runs a bookstore named Amazon, Bezos, Jeff
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Bezos. He actually came one year and received the award. We prefer people come to the event. Last year, he just splashed down this weekend. Jared Isaacman, who
Yes.
did Polaris Dawn, was the winner last year. Amazingly wonderful person. And this year it'll be somebody also who has broken down barriers. A space cowboy in our sense, or cowgirl in the sense of Gwen, cow person, is someone who rides beyond the frontier, somebody who leads, who is an individual person, who goes out ahead of everyone else, who ranges out in the land.
Mhm.
And I have to admit, comes a little bit from my heritage as a Texan, but it really is sort of an idea of individuality. It's funny because you hear people talk about, oh, these people going out into space, they're space cowboys. Yes, You
Yeah.
know, it's not a bad thing. It's a great
Mm.
thing. It just means you're an individual. You have your own ideas and you're going out there and doing it. We also give out awards for film and TV. We have a set of awards called the Odyssey Award. Similar concept, you know, voyaging out, different historical analogy, but and the winners of that have included, well, The Expanse, the great television series, and Frank White, Rod Roddenberry for the Star Trek legacy of his father was last year, and organizations, companies. I can tell you that one of the private companies that landed on the moon will be getting an Odyssey this year.
Nice
Um,
little
if
teaser.
you follow the field, you'll realize there was only one private company that's landed on the moon. Um, and you know, people like that. We also give out permission to dream for educators.
Mm,
Sometimes they're well known. Sometimes it's somebody who's maybe inspiring kids in a single school.
yeah.
To bring that home, educators and inspirers, we call them. Um, and you know, just several awards like that. Oh, we also have the Peter Mayhew Award. Peter Mayhew was the fellow who played Chewbacca in Star
Mhm.
Wars. Last year, we gave a new award we created called the EarthLight Award to the Mayhew Foundation. Mr. Mayhew's gone. Um, and then they loved the event so much, they decided they were going to give their award out at the Space Cowboy Ball. So this year they're giving an award. And it's going to, they've already announced it, so I'm not blowing anything here, but it's the founder of a group called the 501st, which these are the folks that dress up in the Star Wars costumes and go to hospitals and orphanages and just make people feel really good. Um, which means, of course, we're going to have a bunch of them there.
Which is
Uh,
awesome. Last
it
year, that
is
was
kind of
a
cool.
surprise, and it was so fun.
It is kind of cool. And I remember one year I had 6 of them escort me out onto the dance floor. And they were very like doing that thing and being
Yeah,
very, and then they get out on the dance floor. And as soon as they hit the middle of the dance floor, they broke loose. And it was
that's
just
so
the
fun.
coolest moment, right? They have a great sense of humor. They're great people. And so, yeah, all these different kinds of things. And then there'll be a dance party after,
Yeah,
which is where
and
we get a
everyone's
little
dressed
wild.
up in costume, and
Oh, I
it's
should have
so much
mentioned that little detail.
fun. Yes.
We ask the question, what would you wear to a party on Mars in 100 years?
Mm.
And, you know, basically that's a license to kill, you know, costume wise. We get everything from Star Trek to Firefly and The Expanse to, oh, we get everything.
With The
And
Mandalorian last year, someone came as a
there was a
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. And, but I don't want to scare anybody away with that. And this is really important. Um, if you're just going to wear a black tie, that's fine,
That's
right?
perfect.
I'll tell you this really funny story. One of the best costumes we had one year was one of our speakers who was a NASA person. And he showed up in his Washington, D.C. business suit.
Yeah.
And I said, I lived in California a while. So I said, dude, where's your costume? And he said, well, man, it's 100 years in the future, right? And I said, yeah. He said, I'm going retro.
Oh, that's good.
I had to give him points. You know, if I'd had the Star Wars troopers there, I would have escorted him out. You know, at that
Yeah.
point, it's like you get points, but you're out of here. No, I'm kidding. Everything goes. Everything goes. I mean,
Yeah,
we've had people just show up and throw on a cowboy hat and put a flashing LED on. You know, it
yeah,
doesn't matter. We
right.
don't care what you wear. Um,
Yeah.
you know, as long as it's like not Bermuda shorts. You know, you know, we are. But we, you know, and I want to make a point of that. Our field is very, we're nerds. I'm a nerd, you're a nerd, we're geeks and
Yeah.
nerds, right? That's what we are. Um, and we need to be able to show, as Loretta does with Yuri's Night, that we can be cool. We can have a good time, right? And we get to dress up a little bit and have some fun. And you know, the side thing that happens with that, Sarah, is that again, going back to our original point about the event, it breaks the barriers.
Absolutely.
It breaks the barriers down and people relax because, how serious can you be when you're dressed like a TV character or something, right? You
Right.
got to be just relaxed and having a good time. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a lot of fun, and we want anybody who really wants to participate in this, especially given this time in history.
Yes.
New Worlds and the Space Cowboy Ball is the place to be.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, thank you so much for joining me today and helping illuminate more about what New Worlds is, the philosophy behind it, and the Space Cowboy Ball. I would also like to just have a shout out for anyone who has been following anything in the space industry or has been curious about more of the right-brained activity within the field to come check us out. We're going to share a link for you. It's going to be down below this video. And we'd love to see you there. It's November 1st through 2nd in Houston, Texas at the Space Center, Houston.
I hate to step on your end. I forgot something, if you don't mind.
Uh-oh. That's all right.
I'm
We have
sorry.
a PS.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I hate it when people do that to me, and I just
No
did it to you.
apologies.
I forgot. I just happened to glance down. Our co-chairs this year are
Yes.
Brian Talebi from Ahura AI, one of the leaders in the AI field. Barbara Belvisi from Paris, France, who is doing closed system agriculture and plans to put a rose on the moon in
Mm.
2029 in her operation Little Prince. Dr. Phil Metzger from the University of Central Florida, serious hardcore, but very cool scientist. And Rod Roddenberry, the heir apparent to the Star Trek legacy. He came last year, and he's back again as one of our co-chairs. So I didn't want to leave them out, and forgive
No,
me for that.
absolutely. No, it's going to be wonderful to have these people with us. And if you want to see the speaker lineup, they're up on the website, newworlds.org. You can go check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Rick, and we'll make sure you get all the information you need. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.